Hello, everybody, and welcome to another. Yes, awesome, Solomon. Thank you for that Canadian Zordon. I will take it. My head in a bubble. I don't mind that idea. Though I think the beard would get weird in the temporal shift thing majigger. Um, sorry, that was a little rando, but we are here. We're doing that. I hope you guys are having an awesome start to the weekend or stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited. I'm excited more so for the factor that I'm gonna be going on holidays very soon. Like as in starting tomorrow. Yeah, starting up the holidays. Gonna be gone for 2 weeks. So you're gonna be missing this beautiful bearded face. Yeah, that's a thing. But no, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good time. Gonna have some relaxing time with just me and Coach for the first week because our kids are up into Jamaica and they're hanging out with Auntie Laura over there. So that's awesome that they get to do that and have fun. It also means I am without kids for like a week. So it's just a very different vibe. This morning I didn't have a little Nino or Nina rushing up to tell me, Dad, I want this, Dad, I want breakfast, and stuff like that. So it was very different, but it was also very relaxing. I almost slept in too much. So that was the thing. No, it's busy time, it's crazy time, stuff like that. And so then after that, we get to hang out with my parents for a week. So that's going to be really cool. Hopefully do some family stuff and chill that. And then we come back. I'm going to be helping out with an awesome masterpiece arts camp. Not pizza arts camp. That would be Master Pizza Arts Camp. That now needs to be a thing. I wonder what that would look like. Yo, if you're into like concept art, you should throw that out there and be like, what does that look like? I'd love to see it. No, but yeah, and then I get to go to Standard Camp for another week and lead that and bring my family there. And then there's a week of semi-breather, then a week of video game camp. I need to do pictures of that. That's going to be awesome. We got Gamers Camp that's going on. It's fully loaded. So there's no more people that can be added, sadly. So I'm sorry if you're like, man, I want to do Gamers Camp. Maybe next year. We'll have to see how well this works out for this year. So it will be cool. But we definitely have a huge roster of peeps that are going to be there. And then finally, we are going to be we're going to be having Fan Expo August 26th. So that's a Saturday. The idea is you take care of your ticket and ticket for both the Go Train and for Fan Expo, unless you are getting there by another means directly or stuff like that. But you cover that, so then it's easier for your transport person, stuff like that. But you cover your Fan Expo ticket. If you're riding with me, you're going to need to make sure you get your Go Train ticket. You're going to make sure you bring some money for pizza. We're looking at about $20. Should be able to cover it, and that's also gas. Actually, sorry, I'm going to say 15. 15 will be for pizza and gas. That way we have a little bit of breather and stuff like that. But it's going to be good. Yes, pineapple pizza. That will be a thing because that's amazing. Why wouldn't you do that? It's so good. Yeah. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be good times, good fun. And then we're right into the new school year, new programs programs going up with a couple ones that we are getting in development for September, October timeframe. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And it's going to be in-person stuff. So like those of you who are watching that are local, yo, time to shine, man. Time to shine. But we are still going to be providing awesome stuff that's streaming for you guys who are anywhere, whether you're Canadian, whether you're from the stateside, whether you are from Wales. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Solomon. I'm looking at you. It's going to be good times, good fun for everyone. Oh yeah, and in my absence, there is still going to be stuff going on. Nuggets of Wisdom will be going on, but it won't be on next week as Nuggets is getting to go to Wonderland. Man, like the guy gets a fun thing. It's going to be good. But then we have the dojo still happening with our very own Ninja and Jedi. man, the bros are good to watch. And even if you aren't able to watch it live, yo, you should totally watch it the after viewing. Like, these guys are hardcore. Like, these are really good dudes that get into their gaming. Yeah, support them. Let them know you were watching, know that you're supporting. But yeah, that's what's going to be happening. And also, between the panels, both blog post and our podcast will be running as well while I'm gone. Yeah, I did a little extra work. It was fun. So there's still stuff going on, still stuff being pushed out there for you guys to enjoy, to nerdify on. Yeah, but today, our talk is actually brought to you by the very own Solomon, that has been watching us stream for, like, good grief, a good while now. And this actually came from nicknames. So, as you guys have heard, Solomon called me the Canadian Zordon. And I thought that was a very rich and funny thing to throw down. Simply put, because it's hilarious, right? Like, it's... I love Power Rangers. I know Solomon loves Power Rangers. We've nerded out over Power Rangers off and on throughout the past. And so being called this Canadian Zordon, which makes sense, right? Like, you're primarily seeing my head. Like, if you guys have not seen Zordon, this is what you missed out from not being part of my childhood. This is Zordon. He's amazing. He's wonderful. He's stuck in a temporal state. So, like, his consciousness and capability is just, like, outside of time, and like, he's there in space. Like, his body's still there, but, like, his consciousness and interaction is, like, in a weird space zone thingy mabobber. And if you were the kind of kid that didn't get to watch Power Rangers, well, I'm sorry. You have the capacity. It's called Netflix now, where you can watch Power Rangers if you have the funds to support that kind of deal. You can always watch the Power Rangers movie on Disney Plus. I know I sure did, because I never got a chance to watch the Power Rangers movie. I know, shocker. Wilson was dropping the ball as a kid, but I got to watch it, and man, was it amazing. It was golden. Tommy. Oh, Tommy. Sad moment. No. Yeah, so, like, it was a lot of good nerdom. But how on earth are we going about this? So, in case you don't know who the heck Zordon is, or what the heck this is all about, Power Rangers is all about, like, these teenagers who are given awesome capacities with these power coins, and they can they can morph into Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Imagine that. It's in the title. But they only get these capacities from this dude, Zordon. And yeah, there wasn't a whole lot known about Zordon, like, until comic series that came out later on. I'm not really here to touch too much on the baseline on that. Again, if you are a ginormous nerd on this, you can find ways to do this. Like, there are comic series. It's fantastic. Here, you know what? I'll bring it up. Like, Zordon comic. Zordon comic. Images. Like, dude, like, look at this. Like, you could be reading Mighty Morphin 11 and going into a deep backstory on who the heck is Zordon like, and what was he part of, and what is he into, and all this crazy goodness. Like, oh my goodness. He's so intense, right? Such cool designs. I'm totally nerding out over it too. It's so good. So if anyone I would want to be like that wasn't a Power Ranger, I would want to be Zordon. I get it. Like, Zordon's awesome. Because this is like him even at one point where he gets his own, like, power suit thing. That's absolutely nuts. Oh my goodness, that just looks cool. Like, come on, guys. How are you not nerd? That looks like an awesome mix of Lex Luthor and Mr. Freeze. I'm not going to lie. And Solomon may very well disown me as a friend online here because of said statement. But, like, oh, he just looks so boss. He's going to own face. And he's a Power Ranger, man. Like, this is like him morphed Power Ranger vibe of like, bring it, bring it. But the thing that I wanted to bring up is this kind of idea, right? So whenever you see Zordon, he's leading the Power Rangers, not in like he's in the fight right there with them and leading. He more or less guides them, and I kind of appreciated that out of watching the Power Rangers. Zordon was just simply a dude that was more than willing to take time, and I appreciate he looks for teenagers with attitude. That was like a specific thing in the show, in series. It's teenagers with attitude, and you're like, dude, that's dangerous. Like anyone who hangs out with teenagers, and I do this as my job. That can be good, and that can also be rough. Like you kind of get a mixed bag on that one, but like it really is this kind of cool factor that like Zordon's willing to invest in the people that most people would kind of like shrug off. So don't all teenagers have attitude? That's been typically my experience in some way or other, and even when they are really awesome peeps, there's bound to be an attitude thing that shows up every once in a while. It's just part of being human and growing and developing. I'm just gonna say that straight up. But isn't that funny that actually that's part of the process? And the one thing that I will hyper focus on is of course Tommy, because Tommy is the dude that I know a good portion of, and looking at him, right? Like Tommy was this dude who did have a fair amount of attitude and was kind of like the side guy. Yeah. Shout out for Tommy. Hey, way to go, Solomon. He's the side guy, right? Like he's like the extra ranger that shows up every once in a while. But like, let's be honest, this is a really cool ranger that shows up every once in a while. If you weren't amped about Tommy showing up, like I don't know what you were watching. But he's this sideline ranger. But the thing about him is, like, when he takes on this dragon coin, the dragon power coin, and he's evil for a period of time, and, like, Zordon's encouraging Jason, who's, like, the leader of the Power Rangers, to keep fighting for Tommy, to help him, to try and save him, like, to legitimately work to free him from Rita's bad nature. Which you find out in comics is, like, Rita was, like, a connection to Zordon, and like I think there's a responsibility and ownership in that. You'd have to read the series to fully get it, but like, yeah, Zordon knew Rita when she was just a baby, and like seeing her grow over thousands of years and like where she turned evil and stuff like that, and having to contend with that. Wow. Okay, Solomon, the coolest extra ranger should have just replaced Jason, the worst Red Ranger. Ooh. I'm not going that hard, man. Like Jay I liked as a Red Ranger. He was good. He was a good leader in some ways, but yeah, there was a lot of butting heads for a time with Tommy and Jay. But yeah, like again, like Zordon has the old sage kind of vibe, right? And like any good story typically has like a sage or like a guide or a person of wisdom that the hero or heroes need to invest in them, to help them learn lessons or to conquer fears. And you see that with Zordon in different points, right? Where like the Power Rangers face different difficulties that they face individually. You see a lot of investment within Billy because, you know, Billy's a repping hard nerd. I'm just going to say it. Like, the dude's into tech. He had the glasses. He had the pocket calculator. Like, yo, stereotypical nerd. Right there. Blue Ranger. That's what it was. I found it interesting that I was not a fan of him. I was always into Tommy. But, like, I like green. So, and Tommy's awesome. But that was the thing. Like, he saw people. He saw their potential. And I think that is the coolest thing that was actually shown, not just in the show, but actually in the comics. They apparently brought that in, is that like his capacity was to see potential in other people. And that's why he would give them certain power coins that would match more toward where people were at. That these power coins weren't just like random and be like, oh, well, Kimberly, like, you know, sure, we'll give you the pterodactyl. Like, no, like, these were deliberate choices that reflected who they were. And you see that later on in the series, that, like, each morpher was very distinct to the ranger and what they exhibited in their characteristics and their personality and their mindset and what they stood for. As you saw more and more, the power coins, or like the morphers, had ideals almost, or virtues to them and stuff like that. And like, that's actually good mentorship, is what you really should be seeing from Zordon in that case. And that may seem weird that I'm like going, yo, like, you should be looking at Power Rangers and learning a lesson on mentorship. But like, that's what we're here doing today. Like, Zordon really exhibits well a sage that is removed as far as like directly teaching onto something, like to like go, okay, this is how you exactly do it, right? He is speaking into them. He's investing in who they are. He's able to assess what's going on and be able to share how they are growing through it. Every episode practically had like a follow-up with Zordon. So first Zordon brings like a problem that they're, Power Rangers, this is the problem that's going on. Oh no, we must defeat another Rita monster. And like, this is how it is. Oh, Tommy, you should watch out for it. Or Kimberly, you should address this. Or like, he would address the key people that were needing help and processing. But then he would talk after. It was a good debrief. And I thought that was like one of the smartest things that show ever did. And I haven't seen the Japanese version of like what was the original. But I did appreciate that, and looking at that with sharing with my kids, they could see that too. Like, there was a follow-up. There was not just like fun and stupid, like Skull and Bulk being idiots because Skull and Bulk. But there was good follow-up. And that's another good thing that mentors do, is that they have this follow-up process. And yeah, like, Zordon just has this awesome capacity to do it. So again, Solomon, thank you for for generating this idea and how we are diving into Zordon. But you might be like, yo, how does this like connect biblically? And we've kind of done this talk semi before with like Deku, and you know, how do you live a life of leveling up, and the idea that you need to be mentored, but also you need to be mentoring other people. So I'll be semi diving into that. But really, I'm looking more at like, maybe you feel like, how do I contribute? How do I invest in people around me? Maybe you feel like me, sitting at 33, and there's like a whole lot of people that are younger now than than when I first started out, and I'm like, oh man, like, I'm the young one here. We're starting out, and there wasn't a whole lot. Like, I still was learning a lot. I've been learning on, you know, what does it mean to mentor? How do we mentor well amongst people, and how do we do this? So this has been a process. So thank you, Solomon, for bringing this out and for self-assessment. We're gonna look at 3 people, and I'll be sharing a little bit of insight, just more on like talking through the process of Jesus, and even through Paul and how he did mentorship, right? And being able to take that time. So we're gonna get right in on it. So first one I want to throw down is Jethro to Moses. So if you're like, who the flibbity giblet is Jethro? I get it, man. Like, all these different names in the Bible, it's a lot to take in. Jethro was Moses' father-in-law, right? So like, he was a high priest in Midian. He had his own jam that was going on. He was connected to God. He was a dude of faith. And this is after, you know, them fleeing from Egypt. This is them in the midst of like going through the desert and processing things and working through things in the desert. Yeah, like, this is even before Sinai, what's happening there. And Jethro's a dude that's like observant, at least from what we see in scripture. He's just like, he's looking around and checking out things. And like, Moses is bringing his people in Midian, and the processing. So praise the Lord, Jethro said, for he has rescued you from the Egyptians, from Pharaoh. Yes, he has rescued Israel from the powerful hand of Egypt. I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods, because he rescued his people from the oppression of the proud Egyptians. So he's like a proud father-in-law in this moment, right? Like, kind of hard not to want to flex a little bit and be like, yo, this is my son-in-law. Look what happened. Look how God used him. Isn't that pretty awesome? It's pretty sick. So he's praising Moses right off the bat. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering, sacrifices to God. So he's like, yo, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. The next day, this is in Exodus 18, if you're tracking along, in verse 13. The next day, Moses took his seat to hear people's disputes against each other. They waited before him from morning till evening. Yeesh. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he asked, "What are you really accomplishing here? Why are you trying to do all this alone while everyone stands around you from morning till evening?" Moses replied, "Because the people come to me to get a ruling from God. When a dispute arises, they come to me, and I am the one who settles the case between the quarreling parties. I inform the people of God's decrees and give them the instructions." This is where Jethro has a raised eyebrow and like, "This is not good," Moses' father-in-law exclaimed. "You're going to wear yourself out, and the people too. This job is too heavy a burden for you to handle all by yourself. Now listen to me, and let me give you a word of advice, and may God be with you. You should continue to be the people's representative before God, bringing their disputes to him. Teach them God's decrees and give them his instructions. Show them how to conduct their lives. But select from all the people who, some capable, honest men who fear God and hate bribes, appoint them as leaders over groups of 1,000, 150, and 10. So you see that breakdown from 1,000, so big overarching, to 100, so getting smaller tight groups, to 50, to then 10. They should always be available to solve the people's common disputes, but have them bring the major cases to you. Let the leaders decide the smaller matters themselves. They will help you carry the load, making the task easier for you. If you follow this advice, and if God commands you to do so, then you will be able to endure the pressures, and all these people will go home in peace." Yo, like, that's some pretty good wisdom. Like, here he was, like, hard loaded with stuff and things that were going on. Yeah, it's kind of intense, kind of nuts. Because Moses is facing a genuine thing, right? Like, he's the one who knows these commands, he understands them, and he is the rep that's before God, right? Like, this is the first time, like, the first priest development that you see is in Moses. He's prophet and priest, in that he's sharing wisdom, he's causing ridicule, but, like, he's also giving clarity, and so people need to ask him for clarity on things, and dude's busy. And here's Jethro, like, dude, like, man, like, you can do better. Like, we can work on this. Like, this is how you should be doing it, and this is the process that needs to be done. And so he took time. He was able to speak into the situation. He saw Moses' gift and his connection, and he kept that in the mindset of, like, you and God need to be, like, constantly, like, you guys need to be tight. But that means then, like, you need other people repping you in larger groups, and then, like, lower and to the point where it can be individually. So this is how you're going to go about it. He helps him process how it is, and then he helps him even to set it up. Like, that's a cool thing. He listened to his father-in-law, chose capable men from all over Israel, and appointed them as leaders over the people to put them in charge of groups of 1,150 and 10. Like, he showed validity. Jethro showed up that, like, yo, dude, like, this is legitimately going to help you. Do it. And Moses is like, should have had a V8. It makes sense. Like, and so he goes for it. He does it. He takes the wisdom that Jethro throws down, and it's now to the benefit of everyone around him. And there is a blessing in that. And I appreciate how Jethro's heart is now, listen to me and let me give you a word of advice, and may God be with you. You should continue to be the people's representative before God, bringing their disputes to him. So, like, he's all in for Moses. Like, that's the cool thing. He's just all in. Is like, yeah, like, dude, let's figure this out. Let's get it done. Yeah, so that's Jethro. Another example is we got Joshua. And this is where Moses Moses has mentored Joshua different times throughout throughout like Numbers, you see them talking, like see the Bible talking about how it's Joshua who was like one of the leaders. Joshua and Caleb were the ones who were wanting to dive into, into the promised land, and other leaders like, oh, there's giants, there's weird stuff going on, right? And here is like Moses recognizing that, and he's like, yo, like, I'm gonna have you be my successor, right? Like he's taking that time and investing in that. And so verse 9 specifically, now Joshua, this is after Moses' death, by the way. Now Joshua, son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him. So the people of Israel obeyed him, doing just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So right there, like there's a passing off on things. So mentors don't just simply, give advice and that's all it is. It's like, no, there's a passing that you can take this on too, right? The idea is that when you are mentoring somebody, they will eventually reciprocate what you are doing, right? It's the constant growth model and idea, right? Like there's always reciprocation. There's always multiplication of development and leadership. And this is what was going on with Moses all throughout the time. He's doing this even when the tablets had been, when the Israelites at Sinai, they were waiting for Moses. They thought he was dead. They weren't too sure, so they started worshiping the golden calf. It was actually Joshua that brought it up. That's like, yo, dude, like, there's some messed up things going on down there. And, like, he was right alongside. Joshua showed in consistency and character that he's a good, faithful person. He wants to lead. He wants to help. And not like he was going to usurp the lead from Moses, but he was working alongside in that. And then you follow that with then Joshua 1 here, where it's all just talking about how he is going to be taking on this leadership. So Joshua 1:1, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. So he was already getting him ready for the position. He said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan into the land I'm giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set your foot, you will be on land I have given you. Like, already the language is that you learned this from Moses, and as things were with Moses, it's going to be with you too. So like the things that you have been seeing and you've been working through and stuff like that, you are going to now translate that into what you're doing now. Even verse 7 here in Joshua chapter 1 verse 7, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you'll be successful in everything you do. There's been some guidance along this in this process. So again, Moses was a really good mentor for Joshua in that development, and in turn, Joshua is like a mentor to the people, right? He's a leader, but he's like teaching the things he's been taught. It's passing on to things. And then final example that we're going to dive into in reading a bit is like Elijah, right? So Elijah has had Elisha, and the call of Elisha is just funny, where Elijah's kind of like walking alongside the road, and Elisha's like plowing away, and Elijah's like, yo, come along with me. And Elisha's like, well, I got this kind of thing. He's like, yo, you gotta leave it. And so what does he do? He turns the plow, kills the cow that's there, and makes it into a sacrifice immediately. It's like, yo, awesome, God, thank you for this opportunity where I get to work alongside Elijah. So like Elisha's like fanboying hard on this, like, oh, this is sick. It's hilarious. He takes that opportunity. He's able to grow and develop in this, and it's so funny. But here's the thing that you look at with Elijah and Elisha, right? So following along, it's in 2 Kings chapter 2. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were traveling to Gilgal. And Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, for the Lord has told me to go to Bethel. I love Elisha's response. But Elisha replied, surely as the Lord lives, and you yourself live, I will never leave you. So they went down together at Bethel. Like, that's an awesome mentoring mentee connection that you're like, dude, I don't want to miss a second, man. I need to learn, grow, develop. Like, let's go. I don't think it was a hard dependency thing, because Elisha, we find later on, has some decent wisdom to him and is willing to look for the right thing. But again, if you've got a mentor that's epic, that's amazing, yeah, you kind of want to hang out with them. And like, that's the whole thing with Jesus' disciples, right? Jesus chooses core people that he's going to be passing on what he's taught so that they teach that. That's the whole point of the disciples. And they're demonstrating the way for people to live. And Jesus is the way, right? Like, they were with him closer than his own family. Like, that's nuts. For 3 years, they were his bros. And that's a really decent mentoring relationship. That's a good connection there. Good mentoring bond. I think we've lost that in some ways. Like Zordon, again, we're going back to floating blue head dude. He was able to see what was going on in all of his Rangers' lives. And yet there were some times where he would just like ask, yo, like, dude, everything okay? He played sort of dumb, but he could also see something was going on. And so he wasn't just going to always force his way or force his thought. He'd allow it for a bit, like, yo, man, like, what's going on? Or sometimes when they got hardcore zealous and like, no, like, we don't do that. We got to work on this. We got to develop this over time. But that's the cool thing about it, right? Like, that's mentoring. That's what it is. It's like being in step with each other, but helping guide along step. And then you kind of slowly pull away to see if that response is going to be there too. Are they going to react the same way that I would have taught them how to react in this case and scenario? It's a learning development and stuff like that. So, anywho, what I want to jump into, again, like, Elijah has this moment. It was like, yo, stay here. The Lord has told me to go to Jericho. And Elisha's just like, you heard me before. I'm just going. Like, just deal with it. Like, man, I'm sticking with you. And so then a group of prophets from Jericho came to Elisha and asked him, did you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today? And Elisha's just like all chill, like, of course I know. Shh, but be quiet. Like, he's just like, dude, spoilers. Don't tell anyone else. It's just the first spoiler warning almost in the Bible. It's just hilarious. I'm not saying this is the very first one, but it's definitely an early one. It's great. Then Elijah and Elisha, stay here, for the Lord said to Elisha, stay here, for the Lord has told me to go to the Jordan River. But again, Elisha replied, as surely as the Lord lives, I will not leave you. Like, the dude's just not leaving. And this is where Elijah pulls like this cool cloak, striking the water, divides, like pulls a mini parting of the Red Sea kind of vibe, which makes sense. Like, the River Jordan is not just like a light river. It's like, yo, this thing would be flowing. And so he's like, ooh, intense. And how Elijah is willing to ask Elisha. When they came to the other side, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken away. That's a good mentor who's willing to go, okay, like, you've been around me enough. What do you need? Like, where do you see now, after what you've seen with me, what is the thing that you need before I'm out of the picture? Because a mentor will come and go. Like, you'll get new mentors throughout your life. And like, I've got a couple of mentors in my life. And one started when I was in high school. One has been with me since my job. One has been my pastor that I've been investing in and stuff like that. Like, they come in different times, and they come in at different points in your life, and they'll pop in and out sometimes. But the thing is, they tend to ask, yo, like, what can I be doing? What are the things that you're working on? What's the thing that we're developing? Because a mentor wants to see you grow and develop. And that's such a good thing to hold on to. And Elisha's answer is response. And Elisha replied, please let me inherit a double share of your spirit and become your successor. So he's got a plan. He's like, yo, dude, like, you're an amazing prophet. We still need an amazing prophet in this land. And so, like, give me that so that I can be your successor, so that I can do this well. Like, it's not a selfish thing. It's like, I want to be serving like you've been serving, and like God moving in that. So Elijah responds, "You have asked a difficult thing," Elijah said. "If you see me when I am taken from you, then you will get your request. But if not, then you won't." As they were walking along and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared, drawn by horses of fire. It drove between the two men, separating them, and Elijah was carried by a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha saw it and cried out, my father, I see the chariots and charioteers of Israel." And as they disappeared from sight, Elisha tore his clothes in distress. Yo, that's kind of intense. It would suck to lose your mentor, but that's like one heck of a cool way to lose your mentor. I'm just saying. Elisha picked up Elijah's cloak, which had fallen when he was taken up. Then Elisha returned to the bank of the Jordan River. Special whip effect. So cool. Spirit whip. And then the river divided. Elisha went across. And so people are like, yo, there's something different about this dude. Like, he's got the Spirit of God on him, kind of stuff like that. So, like, Elijah didn't just simply go, yo, dude, like, that's a dumb thing. Like, I can't allocate that kind of stuff, or, like, things like that. Elijah is like, yo, man, you're legit going for this? All right, you better work for this one, because this is how it's going to go. And he's willing to lean on that, because are you willing to keep your eyes on what your goal is? That's kind of what Elijah threw down. It was like, are you willing to keep your eyes focused on the goal that is before you? Because if you're not going to do it, dude, you're not going to get it. If you want it, if you want God's blessing on that, and if you want that to be happening, that transference of that, keep your eye on this. God will bless that. God will make that happen. And that's what we saw. That's what happened. Like, Elisha was so full of the Spirit that, you know, when Elisha died, there was a dead dude that these people were just like, oh, we don't have space for him, so we're just going to throw him in this cave where Elisha's bones were. And the dead body lands on Elisha's bones, which are still filled with the Spirit. Like, the dude's dead. And he's still so filled with the Spirit that the dude comes alive, and the friends are like, what the flip? And run. Like, they are gone. Like, no one's staying around to double check what the heck's going on off of that. It is kind of nuts. But all this to say, guys, like that. All this to say, maybe, yeah, we'll do the Zordon mode here. I should call that Zordon mode. The thing about this, guys, in mentoring, because like Jesus did this, right, with the disciples. He took time. He was able to speak into Peter, right? Different times where he's had a few knock on the head moments with Peter. But then he affirms him on the very spot that's supposed to be a demonic activity, the gates of the underworld, or the gates to Sheol, as it would have been known for their culture. He says, yo, Peter, this is the rock that I build my church on. And the gates of hell, or Sheol, will not overcome it. Like, he speaks moments of investment and takes that opportunity to do that, but he's also willing to course correct and give guidance on that, right? Like, Peter sometimes just talked out a line, and Jesus would have to be like, yo, Peter, no. Like, it's just a thing that happens, right? And same with Paul and Timothy, right? Like, you're seeing in the letters to Timothy, Paul is deliberately taking time and investing and reviewing stuff that he's talked with Timothy before, right? Like, Timothy, I've given you, like, we know what your giftings are. Now you need to invest in that. And that's all in 1 Timothy. And he's reassuring him of that. Reassuring him that though he's young in age, he's got some stuff that he can be teaching people out of. Like, there's capacity in him. And so he's helping him in the process, but he's trusting him because he's in chains. Like, what is he get? He's like Zordon. He's, like, stuck. He can't really do anything other than writing the letters, right? And giving that perspective on, how can we grow? How can we develop? How can you do this? But it's always been an encouragement of him and his identity what his capacity is, which again, that's what Zordon does, right? Like, he notes the power coins to the right rangers and who is the best fit for what and who needs what. And he speaks to them individually, invests in them directly. He cares about that, just like how Paul is willing to do that and encourage that. That's what Jesus did with all of his disciples. He even gave some cool nicknames, like the Sons of Thunder, the two brothers, because they had a zeal. They were amped. They wanted to fix things, but also it was like a little aggressive. Like, yo, dude, Sons of Thunder, like, yeesh, calm down. Like, let's work on this together. And that's what a good mentor does, right? Like, a good mentor doesn't just simply leave you at it. He wants you to grow and to develop and be encouraged in who you are and develop in that. And that's what God does. Like, God does that. He takes us under his wing. He's willing to hear where we are at. And this is why we can go to Jesus, right? We can share where we are at. And the Holy Spirit is, we've talked about this in the past, how the Holy Spirit is the person who comes along and speaks into us directly on behalf of Jesus and on behalf of God. And he's the one who's alongside us. And Jesus is still alongside us. Again, I love Bleach. Again, anime vibes, because Bleach is coming out with new episodes tomorrow. I'm so excited. But it's like Zangetsu with Bleach, where Ichigo is taking the guidance from Zangetsu. And he's learning from him, and he's developing in that. He's his own Zordon, but, like, it's in a different vibe. And so this is a very short episode, FYI. So, like, I'm actually going to be closing up here. But my thing that I want to throw down to you, Kisuke Urahara, best mentor. Kisuke is definitely a different vibe for a mentor. He's a little unorthodox, but he also is really good. He's able to see people's weaknesses and challenge them to grow. He does that with Ichigo, definitely in first season, and even throughout the process of his interactions. You see, he's a calculator in some ways. And some of the best mentors, they're the guys that are able to call us out the hardest. And that's a hard thing to say. It's not a sad thing to say. It's a hard thing to say because it means we need call out. And what makes a mentor is that, are you willing to listen to them? Because you can invite someone to be a mentor, but if you don't take their guidance in it, they're just another voice that you just choose not to listen. A mentor is a decision that the mentee takes on, right? All these different guys, like, again, Moses was willing to listen to Jethro. And so that's why he was able to do the kind of stuff that he was doing. Joshua was willing to listen to Moses, to be his assistant, his right-hand dude, throughout the wandering years in the desert. And because of that, he is able to take on leadership and responsibility. Elisha was willing to listen and actually looked for Elijah's spirit and, like, wouldn't leave without it, right? Like, he wanted that. He hungered for that, not for power, but he looked to his mentor and was like, I want to be like that. That's really good mentoring. And I'm not saying you have to, like, raise up your mentors that they're, like, perfect or anything. By all means, mentors, hi, I'm one of them. We're not perfect, but we definitely do observe. And the best kind of tell for a mentor is, are they willing to call out some difficult stuff? Not in a way that's meant to hurt you, but in a way that's honestly going, yo, dude, like, this is an area that you could use some work on. This is how you can grow and how you can develop as a person. Yeah, like, this is the encouragement that I want to throw out there. So my level of challenge to you is, are you taking time to invest in somebody? If you are a person who's of faith, and, like, you've been learning and growing, and I'm going to tell you right now, you may not be perfect, but actually mentoring will challenge you to take things a little bit more seriously, or go, oh shoot, I don't know an area on that, let's work on that. Or you might then go, oh well, I don't know anything, but like this dude, you're going to want to learn from them. That's a good mentor too. They can know who to give things over and what's the best source that's going to actually help those that they are mentoring. Oh dude, you threw down a quote here, Solomon. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. William Arthur Ward. Oh, dang. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I get that. I can totally understand that vantage point. Good quote there, Solomon. Yeah. And really, that's the whole thing that we are seeing scripturally, right? Is we are learning from God. Like, he is the great teacher. He is the great mentor. He's the one who we can come to and share and be inspired and learn. But again, the willingness has to be on the individual too. Like, are they willing to do that? Because mentors can be throwing gold, but if you are kind of just like, that gold it falls somewhere. And then it's not observed, and that's brutal. And so it's a two-way street, as it were, right? Like, you gotta have give and you gotta have take, and so you gotta work on that. So again, the level of challenge is, who are you mentoring in your life, and how can it be positive and developing in this? Like, part of it is, are you asking good questions, open questions that mean that the other person needs to respond and process what they're thinking? Because good mentors know how to give good questions, like ask good questions. And then after hearing that and seeing what's going on, they can invest better because they see how it's going on. It's not just giving answers, it's hearing out the situation. So, yeah, that's our level up talk for today. Pretty short, but guys, keep Nuggets in prayer. Nuggets has some online courses. This is the first time I've ever heard of a school doing this throughout the summer or saying that it's mandatory. But apparently the school board here, that's the thing, that now he's got some online courses that he's going on, and it's heavy loads, man. Like, he's doing hard schoolwork throughout the summer. And originally I remember talking with him, he's like, dude, summer's going to be open. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this time. Now he's like, holy snap, I don't know if I have enough time to do the homework or like stream stuff like that. I have no idea what that means, Solomon, but yeah, it sucks for Nuggets. So like, please be praying for him. I'm gonna close off in prayer for him. Oh, good luck. Okay, so good luck for Nuggets. Appreciate that. We're gonna be praying for him and just tenacity to get it done, because holy snap, kind of sucks. So, God, I just I thank you for. Thank you for today. Thank you for the example that we've got with Zordon. But more importantly, thank you for you, who is the ultimate mentor. You are not removed. You see us. You hear us. You see what's going on in our life. You know how to best develop us. God, help us to listen to what you have to say. Just like as we saw in these different examples where a mentor will give an advice or give a thought, and we just need to respond, or they'll ask a good question. And that question assesses us and what are we doing, and how do we respond to that. And there's a call for a challenge to grow. So God, I pray that we would do that. We'd take that seriously. That if we are being mentored, we'd be listening to those mentors and really self-assessing and working through in their wisdom and processing that. And maybe if we're feeling like we're not growing as much and we've had this mentor developing, maybe we need to find a different area of development, or just asking, what areas do they see that we need to grow in, to be open and vulnerable in that way too. God, I thank you that we can come to you at any time like that you see us, you assess us, and not in being mean, but honestly for growth and development. I thank you that we are constant work on us, and every day is a new chance to level up. Help us to do that. Yeah, God, I just pray that you would help us in all that process. Be with Nuggets, God, as he is working so hard and pushing through. Give him your wisdom, your peace, your push and tenacity to get these assignments in and done. I pray that the school would recognize his hard work and would be giving him this credit, because he's getting double loaded than what he should be. And if he puts in this work, then he doesn't ever have to worry about this again. So good on him, and own this on him. I pray that he would be taking that and he'd just be able to have a breather, and that you would honor him in that way too. Just be with us as we head on out here, and honor you and all that we can do, and look to you, the ultimate Zordon. We ask this in your name. Amen. Yeah, that's right. I had to make that comment there, Solomon. Ultimate Zordon is not even me. It's definitely God. That's what I stand on. I hope you guys have an awesome week. Hope you guys have an awesome 2 weeks. I'm going to miss you guys. Yes, join the Discord and join the Nerdy Bible Power Rangers. Maybe we should create a group that's called the Nerdy Bible Power Rangers and make power coins. I don't know. That would be different and fun and weird all at the same time. Kind of down on this. Hope you guys are having a great time. Continue nerding out, continuing to dive into scripture, and see those awesome connections come to life. Love you guys. Peace.